Hey, deserving listeners. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a couples therapist and a professor, and I'm going to react to 90 Day Fiancé. Let's continue watching this show.
And Rose requested a translator to help her communicate today. When you were in the Philippines, you guys were able to communicate well. Rose, why do you feel like you need a translator now?
I can explain my feeling right now. So my feelings.
Yeah, what are your feelings, Rose?
I can explain feeling angry.
You're angry. You're angry right now. Why are you angry?
Because my emotion is my mixed emotion. I can speak why I feel it right now.
So I've worked with clients who English is their second language, and I've worked through interpreters before, translators, and it's extremely difficult. I can't imagine what it would be like to have to communicate complex emotional experiences in a language that you're not that familiar with. So I feel her frustration.
I feel angry. I feel upset. I feel all for Ed. You know what I mean?
Ed, how does that make you feel to hear Rose say that?
I'm confused.
Okay.
Confused. Okay. So this is interesting. With Ed, it was always this mystery because he would vacillate between apologizing, subjugating himself, getting her back into his life, and then he would fall right back into this other mode of dismissing her feelings, bulldozing, assuming that he can do whatever he wants, say whatever he wants, accuse her of whatever he wants, and then she would get upset and move away, and then he'd apologize and, oh my God, I was wrong, and he would vacillate between those two positions. And in this moment, he's confused. So I'm guessing he's in that other mode where he feels like he can do whatever he wants and get away with it. And I'm phrasing it in a certain way that I don't really like because I would have to get to know Ed better to have a better way of putting that, but that's the way I'll describe it for now. And he's had a lot of time to think about what happened in this relationship, and he says that he's confused, that she's upset at him. So let's review. She was very clear to him that she was upset with him, that he lied to her, that he tried to get her to take an STD test and wouldn't agree to take one himself in the Philippines, was very accusatory about her friends on Facebook, about her past, and making her feel like there's something wrong with her because she does have a past. Everyone has a past, Ed, unless you're 13, I suppose. And so she was very clear in why he hurt her feelings. He lied by omission that he didn't want to have kids with her, even though she talked openly many times about wanting more children. So for him to be confused is confusing to me. Now, why would someone do that? Why would they be confused? Is he that unintelligent that he can't draw those connections that were pretty easily laid out before him? Or is there some defense mechanism that's kicking in that's making it so that he's not really hearing her? And I think that's the key here. As I say it out loud, it kind of makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you? That his defense mechanisms make it so that when he's being told something, he has a hard time really understanding it. And I think he filters things through a lens, so that it can protect him from something. Why would it? So let's just take the micro example of, she said, the reason why I'm breaking up with you is all the hurt that you've given me. Particularly this last one is the last straw on the camel's back, in that you didn't tell me that you didn't want to have any more kids. And I told you that I wanted more kids in my future. And you just went along with it. And this is the last straw. I'm done with you. So she was very clear about that. So, and she's right now saying, I have a lot of feelings. And then he's saying, I'm confused. Why would someone be that way? Well, let's just take what we would imagine to be a non-distorted perception, where he is going to let in what she said. You lied to me. You hurt my feelings. You disappointed me. This is your fault. I'm breaking up with you. There's a lot there that you have to accept. You have to accept that you made a mistake. You have to accept that you hurt someone. You have to accept that the ending of this relationship is your fault. Those are incredibly difficult things to accept for anyone. And if you've been through particular traumas of some sort or some kind of relationship issues in the past, that you've built up walls to protect yourself from notions of shame and worthlessness, then that will bounce off that, and you'll interpret it in a different way, and you'll be like, wait, I'm confused. So I wonder if that's what's going on. Total speculation. I would have to talk with Ed to find out more to see if it was true.
Is this the first time that you guys are seeing each other?
Immediately when I got back from the Philippines, we FaceTimed a little bit, but then the last time was, I think Rosemary wasn't it around Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Did you make a special call on Valentine's Day?
I didn't. Rosemary reached out to me.
Rose, is that true?
No. Siya po yung unang nag-message sa akin eh.
So this is a frequent tell-all revelation that they will accuse each other of, no, you contacted me. No, you were trying to get back with me. It's such a trope on this show. Jesse and Darcy were doing it to each other. And it's like, what's going on? Is one of them lying? Are they both lying? Are they, as a possibility, I think, to add to the list of one of them's lying, is that one of them was trying to get back to get with the other one. What would be wrong with that? If one of them was trying to get back with the other one, what's wrong with saying, yeah, you know what? I missed him or I missed her, and I had a couple of drinks and I thought, well, maybe let bygones be bygones. Let's try to make this work. And she didn't, she wasn't into it. Maybe they feel too insecure to admit that on camera. I don't know. But this bickering, it's just like, what's going on? The other possibility is that it's such a trope on this show that they might kind of suck people in through texting, and then they can reveal, look, he was texting me. It's as a way of trying to bait someone into humiliating themselves. I don't know.
Rose is saying that it was actually Ed who first messaged her.
Oh, it was Ed who reached out first. Ed, is that true?
I can show you the messages. I have them all here. And what made me mad is she reached out to me and I asked her.
Ayoko kasi maging bastos kaya nagre-reply ako sa kanya.
Okay.
Pero siya yung chat ng chat sa akin eh. Wala katigil-tigil yan eh.
Okay, Rose is saying that she didn't want to be rude.
So, given our track record with both Rosemarie and Ed, who do we believe? That would be the question to ask.
Rose, are you now in a relationship with a woman?
What does that have to do with anything? What if she was with a woman? After she breaks up with Ed, she can date whoever she wants to date.
For now, no. After the break, Ed.
So after you broke up with Ed, you started a relationship with a woman?
Yes, because I want to move on.
Did you know that Rose was bisexual?
I did. I had no idea. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. She reached out to me because she had broken up with her girlfriend and wanted me back and wanted a present for Valentine's Day.
Sabi niya, kung gusto pwede ba kausapin kita? Pwede mag-usap tayo? Hindi naman lahat na pinapakita niya naka-chat eh.
Okay, so if I'm understanding Rose's account, which I'm going to say is probably more credible given her track record, is that she broke up with her girlfriend. She reached out to Ed in a friendly gesture, or one or the other person, they reconnected. Nothing wrong with that. You used to date and you're checking in with each other. How you doing? And Ed was trying to get Rose back, which would make sense, and I think Ed even admitted that. And Rose was being nice. She was texting back pictures of, silly things like, okay, we can be friends. I just took this silly picture. I've had a couple glasses of wine, and I'm going to text this out to all my friends. That doesn't say anything. Now, for Ed, he is using these pictures as clear examples that she's trying to flirt with him, which I find to be not convincing. Maybe she was, but it's certainly not convincing to me. Now, maybe she was trying to flirt with him. I don't know. But we have to look at the track record here. For Ed, He has a lot of defenses. He's been confused about a lot of things that most people wouldn't be confused about. He was confused as to why she was so upset that he was grilling her about her past partners. Who have you had sex with? How many people? You have 4,000 friends on Facebook. How come? You're friends with boys on Facebook. What's going on there? And then she would get upset, and then he would be confused. I don't understand why she's so upset. So he gets confused about a lot of things. The two main hypotheses is that he's not intelligent enough to piece two and two together. I don't think that's right. We don't have any evidence of that. It's much more likely that there's some kind of defense mechanism that's protecting him from something that is too painful for him to face. Total speculation, can't diagnose him. Everything I say is based on limited information. So take everything I say with that in mind. And while I'm on that subject, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like this video, comment below, hit the bell so you can get notifications when we have new videos. I plan on doing others as this season ends. We'll see what other shows we can get into. And also become a patron on Patreon. All right, let's continue watching.
Isa may gusto ma'am, sabi niya sa kami, pwede ko ba daw siya bigyan ng pangalawang pagkakataon?
I want to know what Rose is saying. Can I just have the translator just tell me what is she saying right now?
Okay. Yeah, Rose was saying that actually Ed wanted to get back together and that he was asking for a second chance.
Oh, no, God. Why?
We were hearing two accounts. Rose is saying he was trying to get back together. He's saying, no. Why? Hard to know who's right here. And as a therapist, I know well enough to know that I can't tell when people are lying. No one can. Don't believe what you see on the internet. Neurolinguistic programming or whatever they call it, these things are not accurate. When you actually study these kinds of things, they're not accurate. Just Google on YouTube how to detect when someone's lying, filled with pseudoscience. If we had the ability to detect when people were lying, we wouldn't need a court system. We wouldn't need to try people. We would just use these scientific techniques to determine if someone is lying. We don't have that. Those lie detector tests you see in police procedurals, they don't work. They're just a way to trick people. Spoiler alert. So we can't tell, and I can't tell. They both are saying one thing. I could take a guess, but I know well enough to know that I can't tell. And so when I see this, I'm just like, what's going on? Now, if I was to put my money down on something, I'd put it on Rose. She's been way more consistent. She hasn't exhibited that kind of confusion that we've seen from Ed.
You heard your dad say he was willing to give you up to have this relationship with Rose. How did that make you feel?
That, I will be honest, I was pretty shocked to hear that right now, that when she reached out to him again, that he was willing to jeopardize our relationship again.
Right. So now I'm confused. Ed, earlier in this tell-all, said that he wanted to get back together with her. And then Rose said he was trying to get back together with me. And then Ed said, no, I didn't. I got to rewind and see if I'm messing that up.
And I was ready. Sean, I was ready. I missed Rose. I love Rose. I was ready to give up everything. My daughter, I was ready to give up my daughter. I had already repaired that relationship with Tiffany, but I had feelings for Rose, and I was ready to go back until I went on her, Rose let me.
Okay, I don't want to turn this into a therapist just trying to catch people on lying, but there he just said it. I was willing to give up my daughter again and get back together with Rose. He just said that.
She reached out to me because she had broken up with her girlfriend and wanted me back.
Yeah, Rose was saying that actually Ed wanted to get back together and that he was asking for a second chance.
Oh, no, God. Why?
Unless I'm missing something, Ed, you just said that you did want to get back together with her. So, I don't know. Now, I will say that it's possible that Rose is crazy. I don't know. I have no way of telling. I'm just basing this on limited information. But I will say that it wouldn't be uncommon for someone who has the power of language behind them. He knows that Rose has difficulty communicating in English in a nuanced, complicated situation like this where there's all these people cross-talking and whatnot. He knows that he can try to convince he clearly had a folder ready to go to make a case for his argument. Maybe he's telling the truth. maybe he's not. But it wouldn't be far from the pattern that we saw from Ed to try to make a case to make himself look good. I have no idea what's really going on for Ed. He exhibited some moments where he showed deep vulnerability and deep sadness. You could really see it. When he felt like, oh my God, I've lost her, he would really be in a lot of pain. But then he'd quickly go into this other mode.
That, I will be honest, I was pretty shocked to hear that right now, that when she reached out to him again, that he was willing to jeopardize our relationship again.
Yeah, that's got to be pretty hurtful to hear.
Sucks. I mean, I'm his only daughter, and he's willing to jeopardize our relationship again.
So this is a similar pattern that we see him treating Rose, where he will just throw her away, Tiffany, or just be very callous about treating his daughter, and then flip to a different mode of exhibiting remorse and please forgive me, very apologetic. So how do those two things, I would really love to talk to Tiffany because she would know a lot about Ed's personality. Does Ed do this to her entire life, switching from just being very dismissive to her to really giving in and crying and saying, oh my God, I'm so sorry, and let me win you back? Because we saw the same behavior with Rose.
For love, which I understand at the end of the day, like, I want to see my dad happy. I want to see him with somebody and not alone. But I mean, I can't support it. I mean, there's such a huge age gap there that they don't have very much in common.
So there it is again. And I know that most of you will disagree with me on this, culturally speaking, but empirically speaking, there's no harm or problem with a big age difference in two adults being in a relationship together. Now, can someone be exploited who is younger? Sure. But you can exploit someone that's older. You can exploit someone that's the same age. Does an age difference raise the greater possibility of exploitation? Yes. Also, coming from another country, the younger person coming from another country to your country, exploitation is a bigger risk. But is it automatic? No. Can you exploit someone in your own country? Can a small 25-year-old woman exploit a 50-year-old man who's very rich? Yes. Exploitation, manipulation, coercion, high control can go in various different directions. Focusing on age as a automatic slam dunk factor that will automatically mean that something is wrong is empirically wrong. I did a whole episode on age difference in relationships, and I challenge you, if you're having a hard time understanding this, if you're just like, but it's wrong, right? But a 52-year-old with a 24-year-old, that's just wrong. It's wrong. Well, I challenge you to provide me data on why it's wrong. So let's analyze other wrongs in the world. It's wrong for a cigarette company to claim that their cigarettes don't provide a risk factor for cancer, right? If Pall Mall or whatever, Camel cigarettes said cigarettes don't cause cancer, they're not related to cancer at all. That claim is wrong. How do we know that's wrong? Research, empirical science. We observe when people smoke, their risk of lung cancer goes way up. When people don't smoke, their risk of lung cancer is down here. That's data. So when you look at relationships that have large age gaps, what do we see? We don't see the sorts of things that people will accuse them of, because the kinds of things we're worried about with age gaps are present in a lot of types of relationships. High control exploitation happens in a lot of age configurations, a lot of relationship configurations, heterosexual, same-sex, polyamory. It doesn't matter. There's so many different other factors that come into play about high control and coercion. Is age gap a risk factor? Yeah, but it's small in comparison to all the other risk factors. So just because it feels wrong doesn't mean it is wrong. Now, as I always say, as another way of looking at this, is a 13-year-old with a 40-year-old that is inevitably, undoubtedly high control and exploitative. 13 is not old enough, right? So it's not like age gaps aren't something to look at. A 25-year-old with a 13-year-old, yes. So there are situations, but if someone's 24, now here's the other thing. You could have two 30-year-olds who are the same age and they have the same amount of power, but one of the 30-year-olds, their mental capacity is challenged in some way, and that makes them an easy target for exploitation. Does it make them automatically exploited and coerced and controlled? No, but there's just a lot of different factors that play into it. So let's get away from just using age gap as an automatic indication of something is wrong. Now, some of you might say what Tiffany said, which is they're at different points in their lives. How can they relate? Well, how do you know? I mean, there's plenty of things that people can't relate. A heterosexual relationship has inherently things you can't relate to. Men do not understand the sexism that women go through in the world. There is a fundamental misunderstanding there. And yet, heterosexual couples work out well all the time. Not understanding each other or being at different points in one's life isn't necessarily a deal breaker to a relationship. Now, for this couple, it kind of was, mainly because Ed was lying by omission, because he was saying, I'm beyond my childbearing years, and she wanted more children. So that age gap did play a role. But that wasn't because of the age gap. That was because Ed was lying by omission.
I mean, I risked losing you. I put everything on the line, and I'm sorry. And I hope you know I love you so much. I would have never stopped trying. But Tiffany, I was just following my heart. I'm an idiot. I fell in love.
So there's nothing wrong with what Ed is saying. I think he's actually, being truthful here. But this is eerily similar to the behavior that he exhibited with Rose.
And it was a dumb thing. I was blinded. And it was a mistake. Now I know it's a mistake. And I learned my lesson.
All right. Well, that does it for that episode of Psychology in Seattle, in which I, Dr. Kirk Honda, react to 90 Day Fiancé on Psychology in Seattle. Thanks for joining me out there. Please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.